Welcome to our industrious agents and investors from across the country. Today is Thursday, December 4th, 2025, and this is All the Leads Mastermind Podcast number 556. Tim, what good stuff do you have for us today?
That's almost 1,000, isn't it, Jim?
It's, if you round it off to the near, yes, to the highest number, it's 1,000. Correct.
Nothing special. The thing I would just point out is that it's great to see everybody here. Hope everybody had a wonderful holiday and all of that, and that you are here because you're looking to not take the month of December off and make it a throwaway month. So many people in our industry do that, and it's obvious that you're not doing that, and we're happy that you're here. This call is for you. We will not be offering any wild and crazy stuff going on. I will tell you that we're going to be doing some stuff in the next 3 meetings where we sort of go through some interesting year-end options to try and help you grow your business and do all of that. We've got a lot of amazing things that are going to be happening after the first of the year that we're excited about, and we'll start telling you about them as time goes on. But we're glad that you're here. We appreciate it. This is your call, and as Mr. Joe has already got his hand up, we'll get to him in a second. Easy way to do that is look at the bottom of your screen or wherever you find your react button, and you see the heart. If you click on the heart, you can click on that and raise hand, and your hand will go up just like mine just did. And that will let us know that we're going to talk to you, and we're excited about being able to do that. This is your call. We're here to help you and not just talk to each other and have a big time. We come here every week to try and provide a community service to all of us. We learn from you. Hopefully we learn from each other and we can grow. And that's the purpose of this call. It's not to, we don't spend a lot of time pushing product. We occasionally have things that we offer to just excite people that do come here as a reward because we want you here. We want this call to grow and get bigger. I know there are a lot of people that are probably watching this online as well, not in Zoom, and we appreciate you being here. If you will watch that, and if you need to chat something in to get a question answered, feel free. Our administrators are watching that as well, and they will let us know through the back end of it. And all of that, if you have something to say, please say it aloud rather than typing it in. We'd love to hear your voice. We want to hear what you have to say. And with that, we will open the floor up to discussion. And Mr. Joe, you had your hand up. Did you have something specific you wanted to say, Joe? Joe Mullane?
Okay, no, it was a mistake. I'm sorry. My apologies.
Oh, you're just teasing us. Is that it?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll let you go this time. So I'm going to get on Aline here in a second. She's been ducking us lately, so I want to see what you've been up to. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm so glad you called on me.
Good. Well, I have. Make us happy. What's cooking?
Yeah. So let me think. I was actually trying to gather my thoughts a little bit on what I wanted to share this week. That there's some things that I really, I know I emphasize this often when I share, which is, not to get too ahead of ourselves when we're communicating with people, because in our minds, when we're sitting in front of a potential client or talking to somebody on the phone, we oftentimes are like 20 steps ahead of people. And it either scares them off or it oftentimes just works not in our favor. And so I had an experience this week where I sat in front of someone who was having a very challenging time. Probate, lost both her parents. And she saw like doing something like way out in the future. And I was out there with her, like, yes, this can happen way out in the future. Here's what a potential timeline could be. And I empathetically listened and validated. And shortly after we got off our call, she had emailed me. We had a Zoom meeting. And by the way, I want to say something about that. Actually, my husband David gave me a very good idea about that, and that I want to share. But shortly after our call, she had then emailed me and said, but if I do X, Y, and Z, like if I move something up sooner and I'm able to contact this person, then I could potentially move everything up to like next month. So we went from next year to next month. And it wasn't through pressure. It wasn't through threatening, like, oh my goodness, you're going to miss the season. You're going to, you really should rush, and getting her to where I want to be. Rather, I met her where she was at, and she was able to meet and to move forward. So that being said, oftentimes my follow up with people, and a lot of the times we meet with people, deal with people rather that are out of state. So if as a personal representative, they may a lot of the times be out of state. And so we're talking to them on the phone, and maybe many of you do this already, but this is something I haven't really incorporated. So I would just talk to somebody over the phone. I would communicate with them via email, and they would understand how I'm going to be able to help them. And on the rare times I would meet them in person if they would come in, but oftentimes not. And so this time I started giving the option of, discussing it on the phone or meeting via Zoom. And I feel like that moved the needle significantly. Somebody being able to see me, to talk to me, it's the better of the face-to-face when you can't really be face-to-face. So really advocating for that Zoom meeting so that you can get that close face-to-face interaction makes a difference.
That's a great segue into something that I was gonna talk about maybe in the coming weeks, and I'll just talk about it a little bit now. So, we're in a world where more and more people are becoming less and less excited about meeting face to face. They don't want to do it. They think well, I got to get dressed. I got to go do this. I got to prepare for face-to-face meeting. People don't do that about Zoom meetings. We sort of show up as we are, and that's the way things are. And, at the very most, we'll throw up a fake background like we all have our blue ones here. And, we're there, we're doing our thing. Um, and, and I think that it is important as a skill set that, I mean, whether you're using Zoom, which we use and, use every day, all day long practically, or any of the other ones that are out there, there are 4 or 5 of them that are all equally as good. They've all got great features. Um, Zoom is kind of the easiest for us, maybe because we started there and it's been working well through the years and all that. But if you're not doing that and you don't have that as part of your arsenal, you're definitely missing out on people because it's far less pressure. It's very easy to come to a Zoom meeting. It's very much far more of a commitment to do it otherwise. And you can, what brought me to this was I was talking to an agent, and we were just having a conversation about what he's doing. He goes, well, I've got to go. He says, I've got a showing in 5 minutes. I said, oh, is it really close to you? He said, no, it's actually not even in my county. It's or the next county over. And I said, oh, how you better run. You're going to be breaking the speed limit to get there. And he goes, no, we're doing it on Zoom. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I sent my buddy over there, and he's got a camera with him, and he said, I'm feeding it in as a feed to my Zoom feed, and I'm mixing it, and I'm talking to this guy. Now, I've known this guy for, I don't know, 5 years. I would absolutely not have seen him as tech savvy at all, and he's running a multi-camera Zoom meeting. And I'm like, well, that's pretty impressive. And he goes, it's really easy to do. You just do this, you do this. And he said, I figured it right out, and it was just snap. And this is a guy that I would not have thought could have figured out how to use a mouse, So I'm thinking this is pretty easy. And I think one of the things that we want to do is potentially get some best practices for how people are using Zoom today and maybe feed some of that back. You made a good point about, the psychology of maybe doing it, what you do when you get them on there. But I think even the technical aspect of it is something that some of you might be able to use help. Is anybody interested in seeing that? If you are, I'm not going to call on you. Just throw your hand up if you'd be interested in learning maybe how to use Zoom a little better than you're using it now. Anybody interested in learning that? Yeah, there you go. See, when, yeah, okay, great. So we'll look into doing that and offering some tips. And I know that Matt is on here, and Matt Melia uses Zoom a lot, and we all do it. And so we'll come back and offer you some interesting assistance there to grow your capabilities there. When you're doing that, Aline, you said something about, talking to people and all of that, and you didn't really lead her necessarily to that. You probably subconsciously did by saying, well, when you do that, this could happen. When you do that, this could happen, and all of that. And she started thinking about the results rather than the action, right? Yeah,
Also,
go ahead.
right. And also being that resource that they feel like, well, I'm not at it alone,
Yeah,
right? Because before they meet you, they feel that they have this big weight on their shoulder, especially with probate, divorce. I mean, really any of the lead sources. They feel
sure.
that they have a weight on their shoulder and they're at it alone. So the moment you alleviate some of those stresses, some of those tasks even, and say, well, I could do that. I can refer you to that. I'll make that phone call. Um, it's huge for them.
Sure. And I think the thing is that, I think the point I was going to jump on here is that what I heard you saying as you were doing this is that rather than trying to say, well, you should do this, it's like, well, if you did that, then this could happen. You're
Right.
dealing with the
Options.
possibility and the result rather than the action. And that's a whole better way to do it. And that's just psychology. You're not talking about the effort to get there. You're talking about the result.
Hmm.
And she can figure out the rest of it because you're going to help her get there. And I think that's a subtle nuance that we need to wrap into all of our conversations. I know when, we're talking to people from a business to business standpoint about, well, if you did this, we have conversations with other companies frequently where they're talking about our products, our stuff, things that we do, and all that. And I try to weave that into our conversations as well, which is, well, are you doing these things? And they're like, well, I don't know if we are or not, or whatever. I said, well, if you were, you could be doing this, and we can help you do that. Here's how we'd help you do that, and on we go. And it's kind of a same thing as you're saying there.
Hmm.
So that's cool. Hey, Bill, how are you doing, man? Oh, there he is. He woke up.
No, good. I mean, business is good. I mean, foreclosures are great. NODs are doing well for me right now. And then divorce is amazing. I every day I make phone calls. I learn something new. Doing a new letter campaign right now with you guys, and we're doing the beta testing. I'm anxious to see how it goes. The next set of mailers go out on Monday. So
Awesome, dude. That's great.
really good. Yeah.
Are you seeing an increase in foreclosures?
Definitely, but the most interesting thing, and I'm fascinated. Not that I want anyone to get divorced, please don't think that. But the divorces went from like 30 in we'll take September 30, October 45, November 90, and the same one for Sonoma. Now Sonoma is running at like 180, 240. I mean,
Wow.
it's just amazing. Now, not everyone owns real estate, but I just think it's a real opportunity. And, I keep saying to people that when you get through the first few minutes, however it is, I don't have a great way to get through it because I find it pretty rough for them to bring up that they're getting divorced. But it's amazing how I say that, you give them a closing statement and a CMA and you see their eyes light up and you've done something for them because they know there's some money at the end of the path for them, however this is going to work for them. So it really works well.
Matt said the same thing when you're talking at the holidays. I mean, it's the same thing. People start settling up, it's like I've let this go long enough. It's time to get moving and, whatever. And, they don't want to have to deal with Thanksgiving and Christmas in an uncomfortable situation, and they move on. And I think maybe we'll see that there's some significant seasonality, particularly to divorce. Right? That
Maybe, I mean,
makes sense.
I find it just amazing at the numbers, but but I also think, I always say life-changing moments, right? There's like, baby, death, divorce, um, and we're lucky we get to be there for those things. And that's just how I look for it. I pray to God every day. I'm grateful that ATL helps me help other people. And that's really how I look at it. That's how I hold it. And it's kind of like when you're going through a foreclosure, which I have, no one realizes when you're in the heat of the moment that when you get to the other side of this, there's a new life for you and there's a new freedom for you. I think it's the same for divorce.
Again, it's almost like what Aline said. It's like you're showing them, there's life after this. And that's the key, is that if you can, I mean, that's positive energy, man. There are people that nobody's happy going through a divorce ever.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And then, the other question that I've been asking a lot is, just to help me help you get to where you want to be, how do you see yourself in 6 months or a year, or what's the most ideal situation? It's kind of the magic wand, Mike Ferry thing, right? But that question really lets them see the end of this. The same thing with foreclosure. I find that question kind of sounds odd to ask it, but at some point they realize they can't reinstate the loan. They can't do a foreclosure. A loan mod, if they could get one's going to raise their payment. So you kind of want to bring them along to the conclusion of selling the home. And I find that question seems to work pretty well.
Are you, when you're dealing with people that are going through foreclosure, are you also trying to talk to them about, because ultimately they're going to relocate, they're not going to stay there, right? So if that's the story. Are you trying to help them find a place to be?
Absolutely. I absolutely will work with them if they want to stay in Sonoma or not. Lately, most of them want to leave California. So, but yes, I absolutely try to be a solution. And then, I also know most people don't have my background. I've said more than once, I lost 7 homes in 2010. And, if I would have saved myself a ton of money if I would understand foreclosure, I mean, short sales on the first couple ones. But my point being is, I tell them my experience, right? And there is a future there. And I try to help them. Nobody was there to help me. I wish I would have known Pam, back then. But my point being is you got to try to have them some light, try to help them stay in the same school district if possible. You got to really think about them and what their needs of being a servant. And then you get some that no matter what you do, you're not, probate, divorce, whatever, you're never going to make that seller happy. You just need to realize you're doing your best and being okay with that.
Yeah, and I think again, I think it's kind of interesting because one of the things that, again, same agent I was talking to earlier, the all of a sudden Zoom technical magnet also said this, that before he started doing this when he started working with divorce, he said, before I ever do it, he said, I look at where they're living, and he said, I look at what's around there, and he said, then I go through my list of people that I know who are renters, who are doing short-term rentals or doing long-term rental, who will take somebody that may look like a credit risk. And he said, I already have a place for him to go before I ever talk to him. He said,
Yeah.
and it's a nice place. He said, I try to go think about where would I be comfortable if I had to all of a sudden uproot my kids and take them with me and go here. And he said, I kind of have it ready and it's part of my discussion with them. And he said, I'm leading in some cases with that. He said, when I'm in that discussion and we get through oh yeah, you're getting a divorce. He said, whether it's husband or wife, he said, even in the circumstances where it's a contentious divorce, regardless of which parent it is, if there are children involved, they both want their kids to get the best out of it. So if you're leading with something that has schools and community involved in it, and you're providing that level of solution, you're already way ahead of the game because you're back to the possibility of, if you do this, here's what might happen.
And yeah, I absolutely agree. I can't say that I do it that degree, but I do make it clear to them that I can find something. I don't go find something. But there's also economics to it. Um, so you have Marin, which is very expensive, but Sonoma is not that much cheaper, but it is cheaper. So you got to kind of be ready to pivot. Because I have one divorce where they're in Waldorf, and there's a public Waldorf in Petaluma. So she can't afford Marin, but what I'm just saying is try to make it as cush, as easy as you mentioned to the divorcee, the family as you can. And we can't all be perfect about what the results are going to be.
Oh,
But
sure.
but you just need to make sure that you bring your best. And thing that I tell all my kids is I don't care whether you win or lose, lay it all out. Just give it your all. However it works, it works.
Well, and I think that's important. I think the reason I was recommending that you maybe give some thought to, not necessarily just you, but anybody, you need to know what the rental market looks like in your community. And if you don't know that, you best be finding out before you start digging into divorce, because if you say you've got a possibility of being somewhere and you can't prove it, you're in trouble.
Ah,
And
yeah, absolutely. And then, that echoes back to all our students. I I say, you got to read your probate laws. You got to know your landlord laws, right? I mean, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's basic 101, but it's also just doing the research to help other people, right? So you got to know your school districts too. So
yep,
yeah, it's all that. And then the other thing is California is going through some interesting changes with their foreclosures. I don't know. It's probably a little the cart before the horse, but California is changing. So in the past, you would go file a bankruptcy to postpone the sale. Well, now the court is allowing the attorney to file um, saying that, hey, the lender's not being cooperative. I just heard about this. And they'll do it so you get an extra 90 or 120 days, but you have to have it listed. The judge needs this listing agreement. And, that's just part of knowing your market. All these changes are going, just like how they're changing probate in California, where I think the number is 750 or less, not a lot in my area in that price range, but you don't have to file probate and the forms are out now. So, these are all marketing niches that we should all know and be using.
well, and the market's changing all the time. It's just like no matter what you're dealing with every year, there are new laws, there are new wrinkles that are going on all the time. Pays to have that great relationship with, a probate attorney who can, who is by nature going to have to keep up with some of that, and at least having. It's almost like again, someone else that I was talking to said, "I'm getting ready to go to my annual checkup." I said, "Oh, what? I didn't know you had a medical checkup." "Oh no, not a medical checkup. I'm meeting with my probate attorney." I'm like, huh? He goes, yep, every year. He said, we try to do it in November. We get together for sure in November. And, we kind of talk about what's going on. And, this is the guy that I refer people to. And I get a lot of referrals back from him. And, that's what they're working towards. And they sit down once a year and just kind of catch up. And he said, every year I learn something that I didn't know, about the law or how the court looks at things here that I didn't know before. So I've got a list of questions I ask. And he said, this year, he said, be prepared. I've got a lot of questions for you. He said, so this will be fun. So I'm anxious to see. I said, well, when you get done, come back and let me know what you came out of that with, what they asked and all of that. And they're this particular customer in the Northeast. And, the laws there are changing as well. And, they're trying to find ways to expedite court processes to save money. That's one of the reasons California did what it did, is to, clear out some of the backlog in the courts. You don't have to drag as much through probate court. So
But
we're kind of keeping an eye on that as well.
but California is still, in my opinion, California is still a majority trust. I mean, it's for my list, it's mostly trust. It just is. And that makes everything simpler as long as it has the power of sale in there.
You know what's crazy though, Bill, is it sort of depends on the market itself. And the reason I say that is that, you look at Silicon Valley and, Silicon Valley is trust absolutely without any question, probably 85, 90% trust. If you do, you go like Riverside or, the Inland Empire, all that, not necessarily the case. And it literally has to do with a lot of it, the competition in the legal marketplace. People are working hard as attorneys to push that sort of stuff in the more industrial areas, and in the more rural areas, it's not the case. There's a lot of probate, a lot of business as usual going on. You kind of got the best of both worlds. Marin is very, I think, indicative of Silicon Valley. Sonoma maybe less so.
Yeah. I mean, I still think it's mostly trust though, but
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
even it's yeah. But the last thing I want to say, and because I know we're talking a lot, is I really want our career insurance students, like we are great at telling you your first 6 plays, open up your list, choose your CRM, so on and so on. And we can do that, but I really encourage you guys to come back to us a second time and tell us what you're running up against, because the odds are we've run up against it, right? But until you've made 30, 40, 50 phone calls, I don't feel like you have enough experience to totally take in what we're saying. That's just my thing, that I would love to see our calls grow a little more with the students.
Yep.
I agree.
I agree, but I would sure, every week we want to hear from everybody, and oftentimes we feel like we're mostly preaching. I'd rather not preach. I'd like to receive. Hey, Bruce Hill, how you doing, bud? I haven't talked to you in a couple of days.
Yeah, it's been a few. It's been a few. Thanksgiving, I was sick. Then I came back from Thanksgiving not feeling so great again. It was as soon as we left, we jumped in the car to go home and visit family, and my sister-in-law messaged my wife, we're on the way, and she said, "Oh, by the way, I woke up with the flu this morning." And we said, "Oh, sorry, we're not gonna get to see you." And she said, "What do you mean not gonna get to see me? We're in the car. We're headed that way. Please don't."
Wow.
So yeah, de dealing with that. No, it's been a good couple of weeks making some changes over on the probate mastery side, just continuing to tweak and adjust and modify, try new approaches, modify different ways of engaging with folks. We've been sitting in probate. We've been sitting on these concepts of digging in and asking better questions for a while, trying to get people to kind of show their hand a little bit, so to speak, before we just put our head down and try to plow into appointments. A lot of times you're talking to someone and they go, "No, no, I don't think I got everything handled. My attorney's doing everything." And we go, "Well, I'll tell you what, I could come out and look at the house and give you an evaluation." And they're like, "I just told you I didn't need anything. Why are you trying to meet me at the house?" So really doubling down on asking better questions and helping prospects and the leads that we're working um, reveal not only to you but to themselves that there could be a future need that we can solve for them, a future pain point that we could solve with. Because a lot of times, especially early on, they are completely lost and they don't even know that they're lost. They're lost with 1,000 things that are going to be on their plate in the next couple of weeks. And they go, "Oh, yeah, man, my attorney's handling everything." And they think that it's true. They really, really think that it's true. Um, And then later they realize, oh, guess what? The attorney's not going to clean the gutters. The attorney's not going to run a tag sale for me. The attorney's not going to drop a dumpster off at the house. The attorney's not going to change the locks. The attorney the attorney's not going to put the house on the market if that's going to happen soon. All these things are not going to happen, but we can't just dive into an early conversation and go, you know what? You're wrong. You're lost. You're clueless. You've never done this before. You're a real idiot. That's what they hear when we jump in and start educating them early in the process. So we've on our side, we've been just really drilling and practicing and role playing and getting really good at helping people discover their own blind spots that maybe they didn't know about.
Interesting. Have you, I know that you're spending a lot of time now, a bit more time, I'll say, than you had maybe in previous months, dealing directly with, end user side, not end
Yeah.
user, the lead side of this. You're
Yeah.
talking to real people in probate, real people in divorce, real people that are involved in business. And are you finding the emotional aspects of this the same, or are you seeing anything different kind of than the last time you dug in? That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that I haven't dug into probate talking to the leads themselves for 5, 6 years.
Right.
And over the last 5 or 6 years, I've made a lot of adjustments just through vicariously living through you guys. And you're hearing that. Maybe we ought to try to adjust here. Maybe we should do a letter that says this instead of that. Maybe we should say this on the phone call instead of that. And so over the last couple of months, I have pushed back into production very heavily. And I'll tell you what I'm finding is that, and I wasn't aware of this. I didn't realize that this was happening. So number one, people don't in the early days, in the early conversations, they don't want to hear a book. They don't want to read a book about everything that you're going to offer. They're crap. I'm on the phone with someone that I thought I was going to recognize this voice on the other end of the line, and it's a stranger. It's a stranger. I don't want to tell them my whole story. Okay, and I don't want to hear their whole story. So I'm learning that we have to be a little bit more brief, but I'm also learning that if you can get their permission to maybe give them an example or two, that the light bulb goes off really soon. I was in a listing appointment about a week ago, I think about a week ago, and this is the second time that I've heard this recently. Second time just in 2.5 months that I've heard this. And the guy said, Bruce, I wish you would have told me that you did all these things when we talked the first time. Because I went into that first phone conversation, thinking I need to keep this really short. He doesn't want to hear all this. Rightly so. He didn't. But he said, I wish you'd have told me you handled all this. I've been calling my attorney for all these things, and my attorney bill is huge.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
huge. I could have just called you for these things, and you would have told me what to do and told me when maybe I should go to my attorney and get charged $650 an hour or tenth of an hour or whatever it is.
Right.
Um, and
$60.
and he goes, I paid for a dumpster. You could have done that. He said, for me, that was insanely stressful. Just trying to find someone to drop a dumpster off, trying to find someone to change the locks, trying to find someone that can do the tag sale. He said, if you have all the connections, this is great. He goes, this is phenomenal. I could have just come to you for all these things. Let me get you to take the rest of it. And since then, this guy has introduced me to 7 or 8 people that he knows that are high profile individuals in the area. He just keeps on introducing me, and they're calling me going, hey, this guy tells us that you're the person to know, that you're running this program. This is the best thing. How do we get involved? I've had a couple of people that aren't even in real estate go, how do we get involved in what you're doing? So one evangelist like this can go a long ways. But they do want the stories. They don't want you to say, you need this, you need that. This is what I am going to do for you. They don't want to hear that. They want to hear, hey, here's some can I tell you some examples of maybe how I've helped a few other people, and let you decide if maybe your story relates, if you relate to it. Sure. And now you can use some examples and talk about what you've done for other people, and they go, you know what, I need that too. I need that too. oh, you do that? And it just really, really works. And I wasn't doing that the last time I was in production.
So Bruce, have you compiled a straight up point by point list of all of the things that you can provide?
No, no, because I'm gonna find things in the next appointment that I've never thought of before.
Right.
Um, just things come up, so you need to leave it open. I think you need to be able to summarize categories of services that you provide when you use some examples and give an example or two. But if I just went through and went point by point through a list, I'd be talking to people for 30 minutes and they would have disconnected from me a long time ago.
Oh, I
Right.
meant more as a send out, as a, hey, well, if you know, one of the things I might drop in the mail to you here, there are a number of things that you're gonna run into maybe,
Yeah.
and I could maybe handle for you. I'll drop you an email with some of that in it. If you run into them, give me a buzz. I'd be glad to help you.
Mail over email, 1000%.
Right.
So I try to steer away from email and then I will get permission to send them those resources or that list in the mail because when they get something physical in their hands, and I wish I have the envelope, okay? I don't have the insert. Um, when they get something physical in their hands, they're much more likely to find some value in it. If that 10-page PDF comes over, they're probably not even going to open it. It's just it's just nowhere near as valuable as something tangible.
Yep.
And so I hit a lot of the services that you guys all know that you need to offer. You need to offer to manage disposition of personal belongings, whether it's vehicles or furniture or antiques or guns or collectibles or whatever it is. Whatever it is, you need to offer to manage disposing of that. But we don't need a page that describes every possible way that we do it. We say what it is, what you're going to have to do, how you can do it, and then how I can help. And at the bottom of every single one of my pages, I say, if you don't want to deal with this, call me. The call is free, and most of the time I manage it for free. And
Gotcha.
then we go into property maintenance and security. So what are they going to have to do? They got a property that's probably sitting vacant. They better change the locks. They better winterize the house if it's cold. If it's not cold, they're going to have someone cut the grass. I bet you their gutters are filling up and going to cause leaks. So property maintenance and security. Another page could be on that. What to do with assets, how to make the decision. Should we sell or should we keep? Put a page in there like that. We all want people to sell, but maybe they should, maybe you, instead of saying, hey, you need to sell, maybe you have a page that says pros and cons of selling versus keeping. And your marketing consults them through the decision-making process.
A lot of people don't even know about how to get mail forwarded. They're still
Yeah.
going to the mailbox at least once a week and taking all the mail out that comes in
Yeah.
and taking it to their house and going through the mail that's still coming day after day after day to the person that has passed away. And
Really good. I'm glad you said that. Not necessarily mail, but one of the things I think that's really valuable. That triggers another thing for me. People need to know how to run a notice to creditors. They have just applied for probate. And one of the first steps is they have X number of days, depending on the state, might be 60 days, 90 days. They've got a certain number of days to put an ad in the newspaper that says, hey, we're in probate. And they have to run that once a week for anywhere from 4 weeks to 3 months, depending on the state. And they don't know this and they don't know how. And maybe their lawyer's going to do it, but a lot of times that falls into the camp of something that the lawyer's not going to do. And then they just sit there and it never happens. So maybe you put up a page in that says, hey, this is what you need to do. This is how you do it. If you don't want to deal with it, call me. I'll do it for free. Do you have cars? Yeah.
Right.
Do you have cars that you need to sell? I'm all about buying cars. I'm not a car guy.
Man.
I am not a car guy. That's kind of obvious with some of the bad deals I've put myself into, or ways that I've sold myself short on some of the cars that I've purchased. Okay, for those of you that are car people, I traded my commission for a Cadillac CTS V several years ago. And if you guys don't know, the V is super rare and it's got this really powerful engine. And I went to Kelley Blue Book. I was going to make $8,000 on a commission. And instead of taking the commission, I took the car, which I thought was worth $5,000. I just felt bad for her. And I was like, I'll take the car. No problem. Drove it for a month, put it up on the market to sell, and my buddy fortunately called me and he was like, Bruce, do you know what you just posted? And I said, yeah, it's this Cadillac. And he goes, why do you price it at $5,000? I said, that's what it's worth. And he goes, you're an idiot. That thing's worth 25,000. Change the price. Okay. But am I trying to be in the car flipping and buying business? No, I am in the conversation having business, and whatever it takes for me to get face to face before anyone else, I'm gonna do it. And if that's meeting a gutter cleaner at the house or buying a car because they're not sure what they're gonna do with the house yet and haven't talked about it, but they're dealing with this thing now, guess what I'm in the business of? Oh yeah, I'll come look at the car. I need a car. You know how many
There you go.
cars I've needed in the last couple of weeks? Oh yeah, I've been looking for a car. Okay. Yeah, I'll come look at it. I'm getting face to face. I'm
Cool.
getting a relationship, and then we can start talking about the real estate.
There you
Finding
go.
common ground.
Yep.
That's awesome. All right. Cool, man. Thank you. Mr. Carney, I want to hear from the world of real estate investment. What's going on in your life, brother?
So some really interesting conversations among the coaches. I was thinking this morning I had a great call with a new subscriber for divorce, and that's not my area of expertise, but listen enough to Bill, I was able to work through that where he was pretty enthused about doing a circle prospecting concept of, hey, I'm not sure how I got this number or if your house even applies to this, but my tech buddy who does these things tells me that your house may be up for sale within 6 to 12 months. Do I have the right number? So you're kind of playing the detective who's absent-minded, trying to get there and find out. And the guy was pretty enthused by all of it. So I think that when you don't want to ever come across like you know it all. That's one of the things I tell folks. And even though the leads are pretty good about letting you know if there's real estate or not, you don't want to let on. I know Bruce talks to that. I think Bruce has been, he's being pretty humble in his approach, I think, as he works with folks. And, that's that balance where how much do you tell somebody how much you can do for them when they may have one problem in front of them that they're not sure how they're going to get that solved. And you don't know what that is when you're talking past them. I think that gets to what Aline said. How are you listening? Are you taking the time and pausing and hearing what they have to say and addressing the issues as they come up? Having that conversation, which is the true all the leads approach to anyone you speak to on the phone. I mean, the scripts are good. They'll give you a guide, allow you to rehearse it, find an approach that you want, but it's really about listening, having that conversation. And Bruce, I agree with you. How much is too much and how much is too little? I mean, for the person who says, hey, I've been calling my lawyer on all this stuff and they're getting billed. One of the things I talk to folks, I ask them, I said, hey, out of curiosity, what's your situation with your attorney? Do you pay them like at the end or are you billable by an hour? Sometimes they don't know. I said, well, it might be something you want to find out because you start hitting them up with questions, even if it's an email, they're going to bill you. I put in a commentary, like Bruce said, if you get a lawyer who's $6.50 an hour, a tenth of an hour is 6 minutes or less. You go to 7 minutes, that's 0.2. That's 2/10 of an hour. It's going to cost you $130. Where I can't give you legal advice, but I can tell you from an administrative standpoint what the answer is. And like Bruce said, for free, trying to help you, trying to build trust and rapport. Solve problems. One of the things that Bruce says too, that call when you find out someone maybe is a move out crew and they get set up with someone to come out to look and evaluate what it's going to be to either move stuff out of the house or potential estate sale. You call them, hey, did the person that you have, did you get in contact with them? And you already know that they did. And they say, yes, yeah, I got an appointment next week. I'm looking forward to that. And then the follow-up question that Bruce says is, okay, great. What other problem can I take off your plate today? Because you've already showed them that you follow through on what you're going to do. And then you take the next one. And that's where you're really building that trust and rapport, where you realize you become the go-to or go-to gal for the issues that they have, and they start calling you. And that's not a bad thing. And I'm not surprised that Bruce, with as established as he is, that he doesn't have to do much picking up the phone and calling people. He's probably got referrals and business coming to him to be able to do it because he's really established. And I think that's where we all want to be at some point.
We
right?
call
Because,
all the time. We call all the time. I love the
Right.
established business. I have the option to not call, but too much business
go.
lost by not calling.
You do. And I'm sure Matt would say, look, even with calling, man, it's a lot of squeeze and not a whole lot of juice. It really is. And that's one of the things I tell people. You got to get through this. You got to plow through it. You still got to make those calls because you can control that, right? You can't control outcome, but you can control your effort. And I think that's the challenge. You don't want to get discouraged, particularly this time of year. And I agree with what Tim said. There's people that are kind of on coast mode. Well, if you're the only one calling and somebody's got a problem and you can help them, okay. Well, that puts you're first up. That's not a bad place to be.
Well, and again, keep in mind that a lot of families just had the first of two meetings of the clan. They're having one at Thanksgiving. They're going to have another one at Christmas. And at that first meeting, after that meeting, they might have sat down and said, it's time to do something about such and such, Aunt Tilly's house, or
All right.
in the case of a divorcing couple, they weren't meeting together, but something's got to happen before the end of the year. Maybe it's time to get this going. What can I do? And if you think about that, transition happens more around this time of the year. Everybody always marvels at it seems like toward the end of the year we have a lot more people who pass on, who die during that period of time. Well, there's a lot of reasons for that. Some of it's seasonal change. Some of it is, and the medical profession will have a lot of reasons for why that happens. What are the significant things that cause that camel's back to break and, someone finally stops holding on to life. And, it's the way things work. This is the time you got to make things happen. We talk
Right.
about make sure you're ready for next year. Well, next year's great, but right now there's opportunity out there. And you may be the only one playing. We've become, as a country, I think, a lot of people have made it into a 10-month year, and they do go on coast for 2 months. Productivity is way down in terms of manufacturing. They're not getting as much stuff out the door. I mean, a lot of reasons for that kind of stuff happening. Joe, I'm going to get to you in just 1 second. I know you got your hand up there. I just want to go back to one thing Bruce said that stuck with me, and Rich Wood called it out in the comments. Bruce said something you all should write down. And Bruce said, I'm in the conversation having business. That's a really, really interesting and poignant way to put that. Because if you're in a conversation having business, that's when you're at your best. If you're able to communicate with people, if you can talk to them, if that's who you are, you're so far ahead of the game. If you can have a good conversation with somebody, you're going to win, period. You do it right. And that's the way to do it. If you're having a conversation with a friend, it's not, I'm trying to get you to do what I want you to do. It's, hey, how you doing? What's going on? Learn more about them, share about yourself, but you're not going to push people around. You can't push them to do something. You can lead them, you can help them and all of that, but you got to get that conversation to go. Make a friend. But I think you should write that down about being in the conversation, having business. I mean, that's really what this whole industry is about, is a conversation. And Bruce, I thought that was extremely well put. Thanks for that one. Mr. Joe, you've got your hand up there, buddy. What's cooking?
Yes. I wanted to, what Steve had said, Steve Carney, what he said about, I want to make sure, because I think I really liked what he said. My tech buddy tells me that you may be selling your house in a few months, or 4 to 6 months or something like that. And that's so good, because like I get some of these leads, they're AI leads, and I'm not quite sure how it captures it. But Steve, so that works, huh?
So to be fair, it wasn't me. It's something that Bill had said that he got from one of his guys. It's one of Bill's scripts. All right. It's
Oh,
not, no, please don't give me credit. If anything, everybody gets credit, it's probably Bill or the guy that he worked with to get that. But it's a
I got
great
it from
approach.
Jim.
Yeah, I got it from one of our subscribers who
Yeah,
didn't.
but I'm
So
saying
how
it's,
you
it's a
say
great
it-
approach
Yeah.
because you're not direct and you're still trying to obtain information. And like Bill has been very clear, hey, don't use the D word if you're working divorce leads. Let them tell you. Okay, because it's not going to work if you come across like you're a know-it-all. It just isn't good. And same thing with probate. I always say, hey, if there's property, that's one of the things that Bruce talks about. I know that there's property, but I say if there's property, right? Because it shows that I'm not sure.
And Joe, that was, we first introduced divorce, one of our clients, I think it was in California, wasn't sure whether to use the, hey, I know you're going through a divorce approach, or, hey, I just happen to be calling because I sell a lot of homes in the neighborhood. And he wasn't really comfortable with either one. And that was just a good in between that he felt was more honest without putting him on the defensive. Hey, I got this list from a tech guru, and I don't know why, but your house raised its hand and said it might need to get sold, something like that. And he said the first time he used it, the woman said, well, I can tell you why I'm 6 months behind and I'm getting a divorce. But there's just something about it's a nice blended approach that does work well for a lot of people.
God,
You can,
who would have thought using that? That's phenomenal.
yeah, but getting them to tell you what their problems are before you have to bring it up is so powerful and saves so much time.
Yep.
Just
Back to the conversation, it's all, if we've talked about anything this time, it's about what that framing of that conversation looks like. I will tell you, unfortunately, I'm the cringe master. My kids cringe when I start sometimes talking about things, and I get away with saying things a lot to people that maybe other people wouldn't say, because I don't say it in a threatening way. I don't say it in a, it's not mean-spirited or anything else, but it provokes a conversation. And, it's whatever you're comfortable with, and you only get comfortable with it by practicing it. You got to talk to a lot of people. Bruce didn't, get up one morning and all of a sudden, he knows how to talk to people. Everybody knows how to have a conversation. Think about when you talk to your friends. Where do those conversations start? It's about something that you had in common. You find that common ground. That's the critical part of this, is find something that you can have some commonality in, whatever that is. Doesn't matter. Bruce found it talking to somebody about cars, maybe. He's been looking for a car. It could be anything. And in particular, if there's something that about a neighborhood or anything, like that, there are a lot of things you can find to start that conversation. Once you get the conversation going, off you go. If you're a friendly voice on the other end of the phone, you can potentially open a gusher of information just by asking one question. Just got to find that right question. But you're not going to get it by making a bunch of statements. And that's really the key element, is you can't be pushing, you got to be pulling. So offer something up to let them talk.
and the thing I want to add is, if you haven't made 100 calls on probate or whatever, I mean, it's going to take a lot of failures to kind of just build up your confidence, your comfortability, what you're going to say, and how you're going to help these people, right? I mean, it's not magic. It's, as my son likes to say, it's wash on, wash off, or, you know, wash, rinse, repeat, whatever you want to call it.
Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah, my son loves that movie.
Yeah, for sure. Guys, we got 3 more minutes until the top of the hour, and man, we'd sure love to love to hear from Joe, but we'd love to hear from other folks as well. And this has been it's been a great hour because we've talked about a lot of important things. But we'd certainly like to hear from anybody else that would want to offer something up to kind of go with. Jimbo, what's up?
Hey, I just wanted to, it somewhat ties together what we were talking about today. Uh, Bill mentioned a lot of times, he'll be in one county that people have to move to another county. Um, I had a conversation with one of our subscribers this week that said that he wanted certain zip codes because he said, I only work like 2 out of the 9 zip codes. And then actually this morning, one of our marketing implementation strategists asked me, she said, I've been asked several times, and I didn't know what to tell people, that there's a lead form in the CRM. I think she meant on the website. There's a lead form. What's that for? And I figured if she didn't know, a lot of you don't know, there is a form, and I think it's on the CRM. It's not in the CRM, it's on the main website. But if if you're a commercial agent and you get a residential deal, if you're in LA and you get a lead in Miami, if you're in you're in a county with a lot of different situations and different zip codes, and you don't want to work it, you just put the referral there. And we have about 18,000 people in our All the Leads Mastermind Facebook group, and we've got a much bigger database. And we will actually go out and find somebody, match it for you, find you somebody who's like-minded, and do our best to make sure you get a referral. And it even occurred to me that if you're dealing with an absentee owner, they may take those funds and buy something in their market. And just because it's not in your market, there's a lot of extra opportunity to earn the commissions. And if you guys just use that form, it's really easy. Just fill it out. And right now, I'm personally handling them. I'll go into our database, find out who's a good match, and make sure you get somebody who's going to take good care of that referral.
Cool. Mr. Joe, you got the first word. I'm going to give you the last one. What's up?
Right, I mean, okay. Real quick question, 2 quick questions. Jim, I like what you had said. And then the other thing too is what we can do is, like, I'm a team leader. I get a bunch of leads. Hey, you know what? What I do sometimes is I'll give them to one of my brokers. Here, take this, it keeps it going, give it to your teammates, the people are on your team, because I'm a team leader. So that helps. And it could also be beneficial in recruiting other agents if you want.
You talking about handing out leads, doling out leads to them?
Yeah. And
Gotcha.
then the other thing is all the leads giving any specials for the end of the year?
You're not listening to the beginning of the call here, bud?
Oh, I must have missed the first 2 minutes. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So yeah, we will definitely be doing some specials for the end of the year, but there are things we'll be talking about through the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay, I did hear that. Okay, all right.
And we did extend our Thanksgiving BOGO special through the end of this week, so we're still honoring those. So that's kind of what's going on now. But yeah, we've got some cool stuff coming up, and we're also going to be talking about some new lead types, some all kinds of crazy stuff we're going to be doing. Next year is going to be a big growth year, and we're doing a bunch of new things to kind of take advantage of that. So we will definitely talk about that as we go. And I think we've kind of hit the top of the hour. Jimmy, it's your time to do your thing there, brother.
Thank you, Tim.
All right. Well, what's that? Go ahead, Joe.
Thank you. I look forward to all that. Thank you.
Hey, man.
All right. Another great call, everybody. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. Particularly thank Joe, Tim, Aline, Steve, Toby, Matt, Bruce, and Bill for actively participating. I want to challenge each of you to take one idea that inspired you on this call, go out and put it into practice, and please come back next Thursday and share your results with the group. Have a great week, everybody. Same time next Thursday. Take care.